Leah will introduce it. Well, welcome to the Family Hour of the YAHOWAH blog. We apologize for our tardiness here. We have almost a full cast of characters. In fact, we have one down and one addition. Kevin, nice to see you there. You're out of my master and my pool today, so a very comfortable spot there for you. Nice to have you with us. And Kirk, you've got another week before you begin your chemo, so that's still looking good. Still got all the hairs, still looking pretty sharp. Yeah, we'll have one more good show with you, and then we'll have to see if we may have to have you wear a hat and have Sylvia prop you up, but you're in good humor. And then below that we have Dr. Jeff again from home. Good to see you, Dr. Jeff. How's life?
Life is good. I have a blood pressure and a pulse, so I can't complain.
Well, this is good, considering the alternative to those things. JB is on a field trip today, so we won't have JB, but we have both Rich in the corner as well as Joe with us. And Leah, you're not showing up on screen for some reason, but maybe we'll get a picture of Leah here. There's Leah. Okay. I guess we either get a whole screen of Leah and Cara or no Leah and Cara, but nonetheless, you're looking fine. You too, there, Cara. Very, very happy. And then we have Joe and Rich over here into the side. We're actually going to begin tonight, and why don't you just keep it on Leah? She's going to introduce a song that we posted almost 2 weeks ago. I've had it I pegged at the top of my Facebook page ever since I heard it. I love the song. Leah's had more listens on her Facebook page regarding this song than anything else that she has done,
indeed.
which is marvelous. I think it is a beautiful song. Its lyrics do a marvelous job of explaining precisely why we are here. This song encapsulates our mission.
Yes, this song I wrote for our 8th anniversary, and it is a song that I think is very meaningful in its lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And each year we gift each other, instead of material things,
mm-hmm.
I gift him a song,
mm-hmm.
and he gifts me a translation. So lots of my translations are in the books.
It's true. Yes.
Yes.
Many of them have made their way into into our YAHOWAH series. So this is true. This is how we have.
That's how we show our love.
Yeah, have been, and our lives are pretty simple here, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes, as Joe has found since he has arrived, we have very simple lives, doing really marvelous things though. So. This is a song that is an anniversary present, but it encapsulates our life's work together,
our mission,
on behalf of YAHOWAH and His people. So, Rich, if you wouldn't mind, let's play Bittersweet Symphony.
Showed your people your hand to break the chains, to free the land, a voice of truth, a call so clear, to banish the lie and to conquer fear. You gave us a light, the path made right, a covenant bound, alive and sure. But hearts turned cold and see what we could not. As our minds grew blind, we left your truth, the gift of life left behind. Oh Yahowah, of all the families of earth, you called us free from slavery's grip and tyranny. You gave us life, you gave us liberation, but we chose death, we lost our place. So freedom's calling and east winds it cries, yet we chose chains beneath darkened skies. Your love remains still shining through your sun. Taught our king so bold as to go to shout for the restoration of our soul, a hope renewed if we choose Yahowah. False idols reign with iron snares, religion's grasp, it breeds demands, the tyrant's voice, the heavy yoke, the soul's enslaved, the spirit choked. But even now your door stands wide, a refuge strong where truth resides. Break every chain, reclaim the day, walk in Yahowah's light, the chosen way. You called us free like a young bird under your wing, from slavery's grip and tyranny. You gave us life, you gave us your son, but we chose death, we lost our place. So freedom's calling and east winds it cries, come gather around to see the great king, redeemer of Israel. Yet we chose change beneath darkened skies, your love remains still shining through, a hope renewed if we choose you. We can arise, oh hearts confined, stop thinking like sheep and choose life, seek truth, leave the wolves behind. Yeah, Yahowah's love forever stays, a lion of a man to guide our wandering ways, is coming home.
Powerful. And that's the theme of the song that I like, is the realization that there's no way home for Israel until they leave the really this horrid, misleading, counterproductive cult of Judaism. Judaism is the chain that holds Israel back. The reason that they continue to suffer at the hands of Muslims and anti-Semites the world over, the reason that life is so difficult, the reason that the United Nations votes 90-10 against them every occasion, is because they're separated from Yahweh, and there's no way back to Yahweh until they break the chains of Judaism. Judaism erased Yahweh's name. Judaism annulled this important relationship between the king of Israel, Daud, who is the Messiah. There is none other. He is the Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is our Savior. He's the one who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim in 33 CE, year 4000 Yah. He's the one who is returning in 2033, year 6000 Yah.
If I may, she's the chained woman, chained to lover. Her lovers are religion and politics.
Yeah.
And she has been kissing her lovers the whole time. She has no interest in Yahweh.
Yeah.
That's the problem. She's in love with those who have usurped Yahweh. That is the problem here.
She's the adulterous woman.
Yes, make no mistake.
She is the reason that Yahweh asked Hosea,
yes, to marry
the
a
prophet,
prostitute.
to marry a religious whore, a temple prostitute. When he issued his divorce decree letter through Hosea to Israel, saying, I'm out of here. I'm done with you. I will not continue with you until you clean up your act and return. You need to give up this religiosity. Otherwise, I have nothing I can do with you. I don't even want to be around you.
You're not teachable.
And so it was religion. And yet the rabbis don't get it. Those who are cultural Jews don't get it. You're out. Good God, you're out lighting a 9-candle menorah. You absolute blithering idiots. I mean, a 9-candle menorah over a civil war between people who were fighting for their control, not over Israel. They wanted control over the priesthood. They wanted to replace Yahweh's plan, which was Lowy and Cohen, with rabbis.
And a 7-branch menorah with their own.
And they replaced Yahweh's primary logo, his symbol. See it revolving on that tree above Leah there. It's a 7-candle menorah for a reason. And
It is the path home.
And the reason is because it represents the 7 Moed, which rabbis screw up too. They have no clue what Passover actually is. It's the doorway to life. It's not the day they left Mitzrayim, Egypt. They didn't leave Mitzrayim, Egypt. They went to bed that night on Passover. They left on matzah because matzah is when you separate yourself from religion and politics.
Well, when you don't know the story, you make it up.
And they don't celebrate matzah. And they ignore Bakurim. And so they have no clue what Doe did in 33 CE. And not knowing that, they're still chained to Mitzrayim. It's as if they never left. And they let the church steal Shabuah, turning it into Pentecost, not recognizing it's the next harvest. And Teruah, they replaced with Rosh Hashanah. Still, it's Babylonian. It means the Babylonian New Year. And the rabbis tout Rosh Hashanah. It's the beginning of the high holy days. It's nothing but like spitting in Yahweh's face. And
it's more like the middle finger.
Yeah, they turned Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations, when Yahweh is returning with Dowd, our king, and they turned it into a day of affliction.
But for them it will be.
It will be. For all religious Jews. Well, no, they won't be that day because they'll be gone on Teruah. But, black chariot for you. It's just appalling. And there's not a single Jew on the planet, apart from our community, that has come to know that Sukkah is about camping out with Yahweh. It's about returning to the garden. It's not living in a hut. It's about living in a sheltered garden when Yahweh resets the earth back to these conditions. They're clueless. But when you take Yahweh's primary symbol, the 7-candle menorah, and you reconfigure it as a national holiday and have it be 9 candles, that's far worse than the golden calf. The golden calf mocked an Egyptian religious belief, the Apis the bull cult. Changing the menorah to suit your fantasy, religious fantasies and political fantasies is far worse than the golden calf. And yet,
isn't that what the golden calf was? A religious fantasy? We're into religious fantasies, aren't we?
Well,
Yahudi, we made up Allah.
Yeah, but,
Paul, the Yahud made up Jesus.
I don't. I'm not buying that. No. No. The golden calf was, what, 35,000 Yahud that participated in the golden calf. And God killed them all, right? Had the earth swallowed them.
Yes.
Now it's about 95% of Jews that celebrate Hanukkah, isn't it?
Ew.
It's
So it's
easily, yes.
you're upwards of 12 million,
Yep.
14 million Jews that are spitting in God's face by observing Hanukkah. Why don't you find Hanukkah for me in the Torah? I'll give you the next 2 hours. We'll be on the air 2 hours. Please.
Not there,
Find
Montclair.
Hanukkah for me. Find a 9-candle menorah.
Anywhere
Anywhere.
other than your delusions.
Yeah. Oh,
it's.
find
I tell you,
Purim. There's no Purim either. There's no Rosh Hashanah.
Craig, Leah, Kirk, Kevin, Rich, and Joe, rabbinical perfidy, malfeasance, and mendacity have damned millions, perhaps more souls, Jewish souls, Yehudi souls, and have dissipated an equal number, and they continue to do so. It is lethal. It is treacherous. I mean, it's
Yes,
out of
it created
control
the
virus.
Holocaust.
Yes. That 9-candle menorah is so irritating to God
Caustic.
that, as I say, you might as well just spit in his face. If you think you're going to have a relationship with God, you think this is a religious act that draws you to God, and all you're doing is antagonizing him by corrupting his menorah. 7 candles, 7 lights for the 7 Moed Mikre. And you can't figure it out. It's just shame on you. But look how just screwed up Israel is. The father of rabbinic Judaism is Akiba. What did Akiba do? He perpetrated a false messiah. If the founder of your religion has perpetrated a false messiah, maybe he isn't a guy to follow. He had what, 35,000 acolytes that all died, and then he blamed them for their deaths.
It's disgusting.
Oh,
I
he's
think it's almost
Trump before his
the star.
time.
More people, fewer people know Bar Kokhba than they know the star, though.
Yeah,
I mean, that star is
Bar
pervasive.
Kokhba means the son of a star. That Israel's 6-pointed star comes from Bar Kokhba. It doesn't come from David. First, his name wasn't David, and he didn't have a star. You're that screwed up.
Other than
And
that,
then, and you're parading around religiously and politically under the symbol that the Roman Catholic Church and the Nazis persecuted you under. Why would you wear the symbol they made you wear so they could perpetrate a Holocaust against you? Are you that sick?
Stockholm.
Oh,
perhaps.
it's beyond Stockholm. Stockholm, there's an excuse for. This, there's no excuse for. And, Rabbi Akiba, what did he do? He brought the wrath of Rome back a 3rd time on Judea. And this time, Hadrian crucified hundreds of thousands of Jews, took every remaining Jew and sent them off into the diaspora, and demeaned Jews and renamed the land. So your problem right now, you've got people that are parading around as Palestinians and a place called Palestine. And the world has just announced that it's going to establish a Palestinian state. Do you know where that came from? From Rabbi Akiba's screw up.
Yeah.
That's when Hadrian renamed Judea, Yahudah, Philistina, just as an ethnic slur because he was that kind of a horse's ass. And so now the very thing that you are working against, this myth of Palestinians in a place called Palestine, was all caused because Rabbi Akiba was self-serving. He didn't like the fact that he had missed the arrival of the Messiah in year 6,000 Yah in the Yobel year. And so he made up a false Messiah. And you can't figure it out. Who was the Messiah he was replacing? Dowd. I mean, there must be 1,000 references to Dowd serving as the Messiah and the Son of God and returning King, whose throne's going to exist forever, who is God's chosen one, who is the means to enable the benefits of the covenant, who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. And yet not one of you figured it out. What's wrong with you?
And yet, among religious Jews and secular Jews, a kibbutz is regarded in the highest particular standard. And there's a direct parallel between the kibbutz and the Holocaust. And even Hadrian, for a temporary period of time, tried to rename Dod's city, Yerushalayim, Ayella Capitolina.
Yeah, after himself.
Well, Roman emperors considered the provinces their personal estates.
So it's just astonishingly bad what he did. And by the way, Hadrian left after torturing Jews and renaming the province Palestina. He left because he and his boy toy were officiates, the leading officiates at the Dionysus Easter party. And so he went to Greece to celebrate Easter.
Ishtar.
I mean, it's just astonishing how bad this is. And if you go 100 years, not even 100 years, but about 70 years prior to that, who was the first person that called himself a rabbi?
Paul.
Shaul.
Oh, yeah, Shaul, Paul. First person to call himself a rabbi. This is the very person that Yahweh, 666 years before Paul would write his first letter in 52 CE to the Galatians, called Shaul, the plague of death. And then talked about him incessantly in terms of when he would arrive, what he would say. Even you've got Chaba Oksen, is he out of his mind, God? You can't die. Men can't kill you. And yet he's claiming that God died. He's fixated with the male genitalia because he's queer as he could possibly be with his love of Timothy. The only
only man I've ever loved.
Timothy. Yeah. But Paul created this myth to denounce, to rob, to create a counterfeit of David. And it's the most popular religion in the world, is created by a Jew who was trained as a rabbi to take Yahweh's testimony out of context and misrepresent it, misconstrue it, to misquote it, so that you could lead people astray that weren't very smart. And it was rabbinical training that made it possible for Paul to write those 14 letters and create the religion of Christianity by stealing the Messiah and Son of God and Savior title from David. It's just reprehensible, but it doesn't even end there.
No.
What's the religion right now that is killing Jews? It's a shooting gallery.
Islam.
Islam. And if it wasn't for rabbis, there would be no Islam.
Well, exactly.
Every reference to a character in the Torah or the prophets that is in the Quran is because rabbis in Yathrib sold Muhammad Talmud stories. Right. And those Talmud stories, many of them are just brought wholesale into the Quran. Some are twisted to serve Muhammad's interests. Some are repeated 8-10 times, all differently. But 100% of that information came from rabbis selling Muhammad Talmud stories. Had rabbis not tried to make a buck, there would be no Islam today. There'd be no Quran today. No one would have ever heard of the warlord of Kabbaville. It would have been unknown. The only reason it seems like a religion is because the rabbis sold them one.
Yeah. Rabbinic Judaism.
Why don't you give up on the rabbis? That's my point, Jews. That's the point of the song. If you can't give up on the rabbis, if you can't shed your lust for Judaism, Yahweh will never return to you. Never. There's 4 chariots that are timed with teruah. And the first one that leaves the city of Jerusalem is black, and its purpose is to pick up everyone dressed in black, everyone of those that are still Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, Haredi Jews. And it's taking them not to a fun festival. They aren't going to be dancing and bobbing their heads and doing all the things that they seem to love to do. No, he's taking them to Sheol, to hell.
Mm-hmm. As you rightly stated in several recent podcasts, Christianity, without Paul and rabbinical Judaism, first of all, there'd be no Judaism without Paul because it was a response to what he did.
Correct.
And then you go to the next step where Yathrib, which was a Yehudi town where the rabbis were just being very greedy, caused the problems. I mean, it's insanity. And when you mention the reality to people, it's as if you're talking to a stone wall.
Yeah, they're like the stone wall they like to pray to.
Can I interject a little? When I first met you, in the first few years, you had already written, obviously, Prophet of Doom, which just tomorrow, even if as better as it is now than it was then, that was still the best thing out there. It said, okay, this is real. They're really this bad. You talked a lot about Hezekiah's story, which I thought anyone who is Yehudim would turn around and say, well, gosh, obviously religion is not a good thing, and throw it all out.
Right, 185,000 of the best armed troops in the world have surrounded your city.
At the time. Yeah.
Right. After they've already proven that they can call everyone that was part of the Northern Kingdom they hauled into slavery, and now they've returned and they've surrounded your city. We're not talking about 4,000 jihadists in tennis shoes as they experienced on October 7th. We're talking about 185,000 of the best trained troops in the world. They had surrounded Jerusalem. And the defense was, let's celebrate Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim as Yahweh intended. Let's read the Torah. Let's get rid of every trace of religion. They should be able to read that. The story says we need more time because we need to get the Loi trained on what they're supposed to do during Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. We got to get rid of all this religious junk. And now what's the rabbinical response? We'll need more religion.
Yeah. And then the third thing, if I may, then I'll turn it back to you. You wrote the Questioning Paul by translating Shavuot, and I'm going. So every little duck in my row was shot down real quick. I said, okay, this is real. I can't argue that, and to this day, no one can argue those things. And that's 35 books later, they still don't get it. I mean, I get really frustrated. I just go, wow.
It is astonishing that we can't awaken Jews with the truth. I mean, they erased Yahweh's name, and we have boldly declared we can prove the proper pronunciation of the name. And if you look at an intro to God and volume 1, this would be volume 1 of that series, I demonstrate exactly how we were able to prove emphatically that Yahweh's name is pronounced Yahweh. And the initial proof was actually quite easy, but we didn't end it there. I went through every single word in the Hebrew lexicon with a yod, a wah, and a hey, and said, this is how they're pronounced. And there isn't a single name with a yod, a wah, and a hey that isn't pronounceable, since all three of those letters are vowels, except they claim that Yahweh's name isn't pronounceable, but there's 250 names in the Hebrew language that are based upon Yahweh's name.
Yeah, let's just work off the prophets. We don't have to go into every name, but just the prophets is enough. Yasha,
Yosha,
Ben Nun.
Well, Craig, what did Yah say when Moshe asked him directly, "Who shall I say has sent me to the?"
He did two things. Israel. Yeah, he did two things. The first thing he did is Yahweh was a very good storyteller. Yahweh, I know that my friend Yeshua likes to kid me like I'm a talkative stick, and I know that I can make a good short story long, but I have good company. Yahweh does too. Yahweh didn't just answer the question. What Yahweh did is give Moshe the answer, and the answer is Ehaya Asher Ehaya. I am, I was, I am, I will be, who for the benefit of this relationship, I am. And so what he said is my name is based upon the verb haya. And haya means to exist. And the difference between Yahweh and all of the many millions of gods that men have made is that Yahweh exists. He's real. The one distinction between Yahweh and all of those false gods, including Jesus Christ and Allah and Hashem and Adonai and you name them, is that Yahweh actually exists. And his name is based upon the verb Haya. And in Haya, 3 of the 4 letters in Yahweh's name are pronounced, are they not?
Yes, indeed.
Good. Yeah.
It is Hi-Yah, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
no one's disputing
pretty
that.
straightforward, precisely who Yahweh's name. And if you said, well, the Wah is not there, so why do you pronounce it Yahweh? Well, what book was it that that Yahweh used to introduce himself to Moshe and that Moshe then revealed?
Torah. Hello.
Torah. And well, Jews are convinced that Torah is written as a without a Wah. I'm here to tell you that if you look at every place that Torah is written in the Torah, it has a Wah in it, and the Wah is what gives them the O sound.
Without a Yah.
Yahweh likes the verb and the noun shalom too, and Jews love the verb and the noun shalom. It speaks of reconciliation, bringing peace and harmony to a relationship. Too bad they don't know how to go about that with Yahweh. But nonetheless, the O sound in shalom, it's from the Wah.
You know, that statement, Craig, Ehiyah, Asher, Ihayah, and then you follow up and look in Bamidbar, Numbers 5, when you confront the rabbis, what is their retort? What is their response?
They haven't one.
They don't.
Rabbis have absolutely no response. They will try to claim that, out of respect for the name, we don't say it. What did Yahweh say about not saying his name, not pronouncing his name, not making his name an essential part of your life? I think last time I checked, it was the 3rd statement that Yahweh etched on the first of the 2 tablets, wasn't it?
They'll never forgive
It's
you.
the unforgivable
Yep.
sin.
The one unforgivable act that is negating Yahweh's name, and there's nothing you can do to negate it more than to erase it.
Lo nasak.
Yeah, lo nasak. And so that's what they have done. And so if I were to cite the 3rd statement that Yahweh etched in stone regarding his name, and by the way, Yahweh's name is written in the midst of the instruction. So you'd say, wait, you don't think that God knows how to write his name? You don't think that all of the times that Dowd and Solomon and Shamuel and Yashayah were speaking, that they didn't ever pronounce Yahweh's name? You out of your mind? So the whole language is pronounceable and writable, but not the one name. It is utterly absurd, and that's why we named the series Yada Yahweh. That's the name of the series.
Oh, and by the way, how many times in the Torah, Prophet Psalms, and Mashal, how many times does the name Yahweh appear? 7,000 plus.
Yeah, 7,000. So it's you would have to say that God was suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia. Christians have him suffering from dementia because he doesn't know his son's name. He keeps on saying that his son's name and the Messiah's name and the returning king's name and the Savior's name and the chosen one's name is Dowd. He says it over and over and over, 1,100 times. Matter of fact, but evidently God's really stupid. The Christian God is really stupid because he can't remember his name, and he couldn't make that Torah work. So he had to have a murdering pervert who was demon possessed to come up with a different plan. That would be Paul. I don't think so.
People buy it.
And then you have, so I would say rabbis want to call Moshe a rabbi. They want to say that, Judaism goes all the way back to the time of Moses. Moses was our great rabbi.
Moshe Rabbeinu, they call him. Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah. So maybe you could tell me where it calls Moshe a rabbi somewhere in the Torah. Yeah, we're waiting.
Just like Abraham was the first Jew in Hebrew. I don't think
of course.
so.
Abraham was a Babylonian.
He was a
Pharaoh was
Chaldean, yes.
Yeah, well, Chaldean means Babylonian. They
Absolutely.
came from Ur, which was Sumer, and then became Babylon, then became Ur, and Suma. That's where it came from, Babylonian. In fact, all of the initial cast were Goyim. There wasn't a
That's right.
first declaration of a Jew is renaming Jacob Yisrael and calling his 12 sons Yisrael. But prior to that, the cast of the characters, both on the male and female side, were all Goyim. And that's why Yahweh's returning, just like he's returning us to the garden. That's the big full circle. We left the garden, and 6,000 years later, we returned to the garden. He started this story with Goyim. He's returning to Goyim to conclude the story. It doesn't mean that he wrote Israel out of the play. It's just that Israel wrote themselves out, and he had to find a Goyim to call Israel back because, well, they're out celebrating Hanukkah and Rosh Hashanah and Purim. Yeah. Go find those in the Torah for me, huh? You're Torah observant, and you don't say Yahweh's name. You're Torah observant, and you're celebrating lighting a 9-candle menorah on Hanukkah. You're celebrating Purim, and you're celebrating Rosh Hashanah, and you don't know that Passover was simply the first day of matzah.
I tell you, fellas and Alea, if I had my wish, I would take all the rabbis and Christian pastors and clergy, and in Sheol, wrap the 89th Mizmor around their necks, or put a dunce cap on them with the 89th Mizmor.
We just finished a show today on Messiah and Son. And it was in the Ocean Studio, and I went back through the first, I think it's 5 statements of the 89th Mizmor. And the first 5 statements of the 89th Mizmor, which 89th Psalm, Yahweh is the speaker. And he says emphatically that he enabled the fulfillment of the covenant with Dowd. And that Dowd was his co-worker, that he chose Dowd, and that Dowd is the chosen one. And that Dowd is the person through whom he made all of this happen, that he swore an oath to accomplish this with Dowd as his co-worker. And it
89.3
completely obliterates the lies of Christianity and Judaism and Islam. And all 3 religions claim that Dowd was an inspired prophet, and all 3 religions claim that that the Mizmor were inspired by God, and they were. And yet the 89th Mizmor by itself completely obliterates all the credibility of the Christian New Testament, the Talmud, the Zohar, and the Quran. And the only way to say otherwise is to either be ignorant or irrational or both.
Yeah, so brilliant.
Listening. Yeah. Why? Yeah. If you're Jewish, why can't you figure that out? Yeah. Why are you waiting because the rabbis told you that there's an unnamed Messiah that's going to come and that he's going to somehow be your savior? Yeah. Why not just listen to what Yahweh had to say? He said that Dowd's coming back. He doesn't. Well, Dowd is the person that Yahweh anointed 3 times as Messiah, and he is the Messiah who is returning. But the fact is, there's virtually nothing said about a returning Messiah. What God says is that the king is returning, and the king is Dowd, and that the seat of honor and the kingdom of Dowd will exist in all places for all time. So why are you fixated on you can't even say the word right, it's Mashiach. Why are you fixated on somebody that you don't even know who they are and when they're going to return, you're off by 197 years on your Maimonides calendar, and you're clueless on the name when God gave you the name. And he's not coming back as Messiah, he's coming back as King. And by the way, if you're still religious by that time, you're toast. You either be hauled off to hell, Sheol, or your life will be expunged instantly. That's not playing around, man. We're out of time. We're in the next 7.5 years are going to be rough.
Arguably, Mizmor 89 is the most important Mizmor. But the amazing thing is, with one statement, with one verse, 89:3, that alone obliterates it. And then you go on to see what you've covered recently in Mizmor 6 and 7. Oh my.
Yeah, it's just every time you read anything in the Torah and Prophets and Psalms, it reinforces the exact same story. And, it begins in the first chapter of Bereshith Genesis with the greater and lesser luminaries who are signs of the Moedim. You know what the Moedim means, don't you? It means restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony and the appointed meetings. That's what Moedim means. How many Moedim are? You're gonna have to set down your Arabic numbers in your 9-candle menorah to get this one right. How many are there?
7.
7. Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim. Those are the spring Moedim, aren't they? Dowd fulfilled them. Dowd opened the doorway to life on Passover. He removed your religious guilt on Matzah, and he made it possible for you to be part of God's covenant family, enriched and empowered by him on Bakurim. Done. But not a single Jew celebrates it outside of those who have read the YAHOWAH series. It's the single most important thing you can do. God actually says in the 89th Mizmor, after he's gone over and over again by proclaiming how important Dowd is to our lives and that he is the central figure in his story, that he says, now that we know that Dowd did all of these things, I'm going to hold you accountable for all of it. So if you don't accept it, if you don't acknowledge it, God's not going to allow you into his company. This is how important this is. And yet you have all these rabbinic sages all of these years, and not one of them figured it out. What in the world are they doing? Trying to enrich themselves?
Mm-hmm.
They're enamored with their own pseudo-intellect, self-aggrandizement. The term Rab in and of itself is disgusting.
It is.
Great one.
Yeah. It doesn't mean teacher. It means great one. It means exalted one. Rab is a common Hebrew word throughout the Torah, and rabbi would mean I'm great, and rab would mean great. That's the direct translation of Rab. It means great, and rabbi would mean would be the suffix would be from ani, and therefore it would mean I'm great. That's like Adonai is my Lord. Rabbi is I'm great, and no, you're not.
Yeah, they were Trump. They were basically Trump before Trump.
Well, even deadlier and more betrayal oriented than is Trump. Because no one has done more harm to Jews, and that's what that song was all about. Is that you need to break the chains of this rabbinical curse, this terrible curse of Judaism, and the cultural identity that Jews identify with it. I mean, they were on Bondi Beach in Australia. I mean, listen, there's no excuse for the Muslims that unleashed on them and killed 15 and sent 50 to the hospital. Islam is a reprehensible religion, and it's been killing Jews for 14 centuries. But why were the Jews there to celebrate Hanukkah? God's got 7 festivals. He's got 7 feasts. He has 7 times that he's inviting you to meet with him to celebrate, and Hanukkah is not one of them. And by doing Hanukkah, you are literally creating a graven image, a religious monstrosity that corrupts God's single most important symbol. He's not happy with you. And, the answer is shub or no shub for you. That's why the whole story with Hosea is that you went off and became religious, so I'm divorcing you for infidelity. And I'm not going to return to you. I'm leaving you. I'm going to Shamayim, heaven. I'm leaving you. And I will stay away from you until such time as you return to me. Jews like to say, the only reason we're back in the land and that we exist is because, Yahweh put us back here. No, he didn't. It's his responsibility to make sure that some Jews survive. But the reason the Jews have gone through such hellish times is that God can't stomach you at the moment. He can't help you when you're religious. Nothing he can do for you.
Oh, and I don't think it's a punishment. He's just letting them, whatever happens, happens.
That is correct. No, he's not punishing them. Well, God is not the least bit bothered by the fact that they have endured this hell. Now, he's going to hold the people that perpetrated that hell accountable. If you were part of the Inquisition, you were part of the Holocaust, you're part of what happened on October 7th, your soul is in deep doo-doo. You are really going, it's going to worse than going to Sheol, because it's going to be recompense before you go to Sheol. So he's going to hold those who harmed his people accountable. But he is not crying over the horrid conditions that Jews have been under for the past 3,500 years, because they abandoned him. And the few times they have said, all right, we'll make up, we'll get rid of the religion and listen to what you have to say. Look at the Hezekiah moment. I mean, again, there were 4,000 jihadis wearing tennis shoes that perpetrated October 7th. And you compare that against 185,000 of the best trained soldiers on the planet who had previously hauled 10 of the 12 tribes of the Northern Kingdom into oblivion in slavery. And they're now surrounding Jerusalem. And your retort isn't to call in the IDF. Your retort isn't to start praying. It isn't to have the rabbis celebrate some holiday. The retort is to stop being religious and celebrate Passover, matzah, and unyeasted bread. And they all go away. One night, one malach. One night, one malach, and they're all gone. And you might say, okay, that's just fairy tale. It didn't happen. Oh, yeah?
It's recorded.
The king that had it happen to him, he went back to Assyria and etched it in stone. He said, I had them like birds in a cage. I had them surrounded. And then, oops.
So is the implication that they just disappeared?
No,
or that they walked away?
No, they're poisoned.
Oh, they're poisoned.
They killed 100% of the 185,000. They died instantly. One malach poisoned them all. Yeah.
But there was no cleanup, because there was no discussion afterwards about all the bodies and the stuff, because they went out and looked and there was nothing there.
Nothing.
I mean, so
nothing.
Yeah, that's the best part right there.
Yeah.
Not only is the army gone, but there's no cleanup afterwards.
There's no cleanup
that's pretty
afterwards.
nice.
Yeah. It's and the evidence of the story is not only in the Torah and prophets that have consistently been correct, but also in the Assyrian stele. We've had the story affirmed in its entirety, dating right to the same time, the same king, the same target, the city was surrounded. He calls them like they were a bird in a cage. I had them surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when the history is written by the victors, it could be
right.
A little bit biased, but when you get that history from the losers,
when you lose 185,000 of your troops, and you're now confirming, that's what happened. We were there. It didn't work out. I don't understand that power of Passover, but that Passover, that's strong medicine, man.
Get rid of the comments.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like to ask our good friend in the covenant, Leroy. for shirts and hats. It's basically time to become Yehud, give up the Jew and the Yehudiism and the Judaism.
Yes. Give up Judaism, give up the title name Jew. You know when the first Jew lived?
No.
17th century. 17th century is when the first Jew came into existence.
Oh, the first one
Jew.
is with the whole J sound.
J.
And
First letter
It'd
J.
have to. Yeah, it'd have to be.
Yeah, it was 1629, between 1630 and 1650, in that range is when the first Jew came into being. And yeah, why don't you look in the Torah and find out what your real name is?
Yeah,
your real
just
name
in
is,
time for Baal Shem Tov.
Yahud is the name, and Yahud is an interesting name because it's comprised of that God whose name you won't pronounce, Yah. And that and the king whose name that you've corrupted and don't like either, Dod. Yahud is a combination of Yahweh and Dod. Means Yahweh's beloved.
I love you.
You know, the stuff you can learn if you just stop being religious. You know, I was before we go into back to the adulterous woman here, I've just finished a really in-depth analysis of YAHOWAH 17. And for those who don't know, YAHOWAH 17 is the foundation upon, the prophetic foundation upon, the very timeline and the play, indeed, that we have been asked to fulfill. And it gives the time that the government of Syria would fall. It gives the conditions under which the government of Syria and Damascus would fall. And Damascus had been the longest continuously occupied city in the world. But it's specific that the timing is that the government out of Damascus is going to fall. It's going to be terrorists that cause it to happen. And it's going to cause a great deal of frustration that Israel is going to bomb Damascus, which they have done and going to do again. And that after doing that there's going to be a two-state solution imposed on Israel, where Israel's going to have to forego its very heart and going to create an Islamic state as a result of this. And then it goes through the events that transpire after that, the Shavuot harvest of mature grain, the Teruah gleaning of olives, followed by the fact that there will be other olives that are going to be collected and protected in the crag, by the crag, he's performing as the parah, as the productive bull on Teruah. And as I was going through all of this and going through the details of it, I mean, I took every word and looked at every etymological aspect of every word, diagnosed every letter of every word, because, you know, I really want to be sure we've got this right. We're making a lot of bold pronouncements here in terms of timing and who's going to do what to whom on these dates. And by the way, the Adamah Parah, this productive bull, you know how it's written in Paleo Hebrew, what it says about this individual? The Parah begins with a pay. Are you familiar with the drawing that? That's why YAHOWAH, who is my buddy, called me a mirror, which is a talkative stick. So, you know, the choder is saying you're verbose, but okay. All right, so big mouth. You know what the next letter is? And par, it's a rosh, isn't it? What's a rosh? It's a big head. So he's saying that this character who has crags to protect this mortal remnant of Yisrael has a big mouth and a big head.
So Yahshiyah's calling you a talking head.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then he adds one more letter because bull. There are so many. Just now beginning to appreciate how words gain momentum when you add the hey to them. So, for example, Adam becomes Adamah, which instead of just man is bloody red man of the earth. Etz becomes Etza, So rather than just tree, it's the ability to provide counsel on the complete story, to be the first to be able to frame the entire portrait and provide advice regarding the complete picture. It's going from etz to etza. Well, par also develops dimension when you go from par, which is bull, to para. And what you gain is that bull becomes fruitful and productive. Mm-hmm. Now, if you add the hay to the mouth and the head, what do you get?
You get a whole body walking and gaze with Yahweh and respecting Yahweh.
So the bull, the para, is a man with a big mouth, a big head, that's standing up and walking and pointing up to God, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, I decided I was going to be as thorough as I could possibly be in all of this. And then once I presented, this is God's ingathering. These are the final two harvests and the sacrifice of the Adam of Perah. I decided to say, okay, so the only argument that somebody could possibly have about any of this was he's talking about harvests, a wheat harvest and a olive harvest. That's all he's talking about. So we're going to celebrate them through harvests. And so I recalled, I couldn't recall where I had read it. I just knew it was in Yeshaya. And so I decided I would use AI to say, where is it? And the prophet, I went back to Isaiah because they don't know who Yeshaya is. Where in Isaiah does it speak about people disappearing and no one noticing? And you know how many times I put a variation of that in AI and how many times it came back? Doesn't say that anywhere. Like 20. Then I tried a different search engine. Then I went from Brave to Google. Same result. Couldn't find it. And I said, I know it's there. So I just started reading the entire book of Yeshaya over again because I knew it was there. I found it. 57 is where it is. And this is what's really interesting about it. This is why I'm going to it now. What it says is that there's those who are correct. It uses Sadak twice in the one statement. Sadak, which is the ultimate test. You're either right about God or you're not. If you're right about God, then you put yourself in a position where you can be part of this ingathering. You have to be Sadak. That's the thing that made Dowd so remarkable, is he was right. God, not looking for good, he's looking for right. Got it? Think your way to him. So it says those who are right, they're going to disappear. And no one's going to pay any attention. No one's going to care. No one's going to be able to make the connection necessary to understand. And then it says those who are steadfast, devoted, and loyal will be harvested. Zakaf, be part of a harvest, will be withdrawn and received. And no one will be able to comprehend any of it. And so two things were underscored, and I found the conclusion I was looking for. First, the conclusion. We are the harvest, and we are disappearing, and it's going to happen on Shabuah. We are leaving this world, and those who remain are going to say, yeah, I don't know what happened to them, but something weird went on, but we can't figure it out. So with all of these 35 books, all of these shows, they are not going to be able to figure it out. The second thing is, not only do we disappear as part of that akaf, the harvest, but that our bodies vanish. They're destroyed. They just cease to exist. So it's very much like, it's reminded me, we were talking about the Assyrians, the 185,000 Assyrians. They were all poisoned by the Malak. So they died, but the poison that he gave them caused them to dissipate into nothingness. Physical bodies gone. And our physical bodies will be gone. We're not taking them with us. I mean, that you can't get into the fourth dimension, much less the fifth or the sixth dimension, much less enter Shamaim in the seventh dimension with a physical body. The body's got to go. And I don't know about you, I can definitely speak for you, Captain Kirk. You're going to be happy to jettison yours, aren't you? Yeah. And I think Rich over here, he's going to be happy to jettison his.
Yeah.
So,
I'll just limp along till we get out of here.
yeah, that's right. We're gimping it right to the very end. But our physical bodies, are gone. We have no use for them. That doesn't mean we'll never have a physical body again, but we're going to be able to claim a physical body when we want it, how we want it, where we want it, at any time that we think it's beneficial to us, and then be free of them again. But it definitely says, because people have asked, well, what happens to our bodies? They disappear. They're gone too. So they don't disappear and they come with us. They're left behind and disappear. The other part of it that was just so interesting to me, because prior to December of last year, I had thought once covenant, always covenant. But that's not true. That's not true. And we learned it wasn't true through Miriam, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Miriam was the called a prophetess because she led the woman's chorus during the Song of the Sea, which is after the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea. And by the way, they've got another expedition now that also verified Ron Wyatt's findings that there is the land bridge off of Nueva Beach, and there's a bunch of Egyptian chariot wheels and swords and all of that that's there, verifying the timing and the route and everything else that really should be obvious. But yes, and
so that means the Bible's been proven correct now, right?
Well, not the Bible, but yes, but the Torah.
That's the
it doesn't really take
Torah.
that to prove the Torah correct. They're like a few 100,000 proofs prior to that one. I can't get beyond my favorite. Well, the favorite one was when God said, "Let there be light," and we realized that light energy was the first thing that was created. He actually used the term Big Bang. He actually said that there would be huge reservoirs of water where star gestation would take place, and we have recently in the last year found these enormous oceans of water in space, if you will. Everything that he said, but my favorite happens to be that the creative process took 6 24-hour days. And he uses Asher as a word for relative, and he presents this view from the position of the creator at creation, and he says it's 6 24-hour days. And we finally got around to launching a probe. It's called the Wilkinson probe, and it measured what the static that we were picking up on one of our radio telescopes, which they couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was pigeon poo. And they finally figured out that's the background radiation that's still emanating out of space from, well, it was really big bangs as opposed to Big Bang. It was the universe was not created in a singularity, but in many different places simultaneously. That's what the Webb telescope has recently determined. And so if you take the time dilation, time moves at different rates depending on the relative to the observer around great energy, great mass, great velocity. And you recognize that we now know the dilation of time at the Big Bang, which is stretched 10 to the 12th power. So if you divide 14 billion years by 10 to the 12th power, you end up with 6 24-hour days.
Well, and you can speculate just on an exponential curve. I mean, this is one of the first discussions we had back when I was still the devout atheist.
Mm-hmm.
God, I mean, this is literally like 2002 or 3 or something like that. It's a long time ago we had this discussion.
Yeah.
Where I was playing devil's advocate for myself, saying,
right,
well, it could be a day, and actually with relativity, from the perspective of one observer, it's 18 billion years. Another one, it's 6 days.
Yeah. And right now we know exactly the time dilation at the Big Bangs is 10 to the 12th power. And, I'm here to tell you, I've always assumed, and I was correct, that the universe isn't 13.8 billion years old. And I've made this claim twofold. One is that time doesn't flow until energy coalesces into matter.
Right.
Where there is only energy, time doesn't move. So the time, while the universe was cooling enough for quarks to coalesce and form matter, it's time from the creator's point of view, but not time from our point of view. We can't even reckon it. The second is that they used the wrong number for quark confinement. There were 3 different numbers that were available. They chose and the most extreme number, making the universal genesis time the shortest it could possibly be. And the middle number comes out closer to 14.5 to 15 billion years old. And I've always said that if you look at the nature of quarks and the like, and then you look at the universe, like there are stars like Methuselah, it is a star that's 15 billion years old. So it's really hard to have a 15 billion year old star and a 13.8 billion year old universe. But my other point was that because of the expansion of the universe, and that part of the universe now is actually moving away from us with the expansion of the universe faster than the speed of light, which means that everything towards the edge from where we can see it, anything that's moving away from us now faster than the speed of light, we cannot perceive because the light can't get to us. And so that means that what we're looking at in terms of the known edge of the universe now is not the edge of the universe. It's just as far as we can see, because of the expansion speed. The further you go out, it expands further. One of the things that's also interesting is the universe is expanding at the exact same rate in every place simultaneously, which destroys the notion of a singularity.
Right.
And so we now know from the Webb telescope that there are 13.5 that we can perceive 13.5 billion year mature galaxies. Not possible. You can't couldn't coalesce stars and have them revolve around a black hole and form a galaxy in that short a period of time. And so the universe is in fact closer to 15 billion years old, and that's what they're going to come to eventually. And the math of 10 to the 12th power actually works more accurately, closer to 15 billion years, and so I think I've always thought that was the case. But the fact of the matter is, the Torah does a wonderful job of demonstrating its accuracy, and these harvests, God's really clear as to the fact that it's only the devoted and loyal, those who have shown resilience. Eternity is a really long time. And so one of the things that God made really clear with Miriam, this once, versus once covenant, always covenant, is that's not right, because she led prophetically the woman's chorus after crossing the Gulf of Aqaba. And it was not even 3 days out of Choreb where she got full of herself. She started bad-mouthing Moshe's wife, demeaning Moshe's wife, and attacking her viciously. And then she went to Moshe and said, we have a problem with your wife, and therefore we also speak for God. You're not the only one that speaks for God. And she went with Aaron. And so Yahweh intervened. I said, look, listen, sweetheart, we're having a little chat here. When I choose somebody to speak for me, they speak for me. And the reason I chose this guy here is because he's responsive. There was no one else that was responsive. I asked him and he responded. That's why I chose him. Now, when I choose somebody, they know they've been chosen. And not only do they know they've been chosen, you know, and everybody knows they've been chosen, because I make it really clear who I'm choosing to work with. And it's him, not you. And so I'm just going to lay it on the line for you. It's as if your father spit in your face. You are so revolting. You are now stricken with leprosy. You are banished from this community. So, and the last mention we have of Miriam, guess what? She is pronounced divorced. And where was she buried?
At the waters of Meribah.
Meribah is where she was buried. And Meribah ties right into our story. So first of all, Miriam went from a prophet to estranged from the covenant, which means, no, you got to, if you're going to be part of God's family, you need to stay the course. Eternity is a long time. God doesn't want to say, okay, well, halfway through eternity, you can't really have halfway. It's infinite, but let's just pretend that, a few million years from now, you decide, yeah, I want to flake out. That's not going to work. God's looking for, if you can't stick with it now and be steadfast and loyal, then I'm not interested in you. And that's what Miriam proves, is that you got to stick with it. You got to be steadfast and loyal. And so Miriam is buried at Meribah. And would you guys know anything that happened at Meribah?
That's
What's
where
the story of
that's where the
Meribah?
rock.
The crag.
made the mistake
Oh,
and
yeah,
went back to
there
the
is.
rock.
That's actually the end of the story. The beginning of the story is after being belligerent in every which way and being Miriam, which speaks of all the various ways you can be embittered and cantankerous with Moshe and with God. They come to Meribah and they're complaining about water. And Yahweh's not paying any attention to them at this point because he can't stand them. Moshe's just trying to get him to the promised land. God just says, all you got to do is get him there. I got a couple of fellas that are going to take it from there. I've got an Eldod, the Almighty's Dode, and my Dode, which is the support man for Yahweh's beloved. And so he gets them to Meribah, where Miriam is finally buried. She's so toxic that we talk about the waters of Meribah as the most embittered of all places. And so Moshe said, oh my God, they're at it again. They want to kill me. They want to go back to Mitzrayim. They're just impossible. What am I supposed to do? And God said, it's real simple. They want to stone you, right? So there's a rock out there, a crag. I want you to go talk to the crag. You tell the crag, what I want, crag, is I want water. Go out and do that for me. I'll take it from there. So the crag was supposed to produce water to resolve this problem. What does Moshe do?
Don't whack the crag.
Don't whack the crag. Don't whack the crag.
Not a good idea.
He whacked the crag. And God said, no, God, I'm trying to tell you a story here. There's going to be a lot of water that's going to come from this crag. And that water is going to resolve, guess what? The crankiness of Meribah. I'm going to wash away the crankiness of Meribah by releasing water under this crag. And all I ask you to do is talk to it, not hit it. Satan is the one that's supposed to hit it, not you, Moshe. Oh. Satan's going to hit the crag. We're going to have water that's released under the crag, and it's going to resolve the waters of Meribah. I'm telling you this story. It's now in Numbers 20. And God's already explained the answer in Numbers 19 and 5 about the adulterous woman. So he's already given Moshe the answer. And he whacked a crag. Not supposed to do that. In fact, if you're out there right now and you're hashtagging my name to whack a crag, probably a really bad idea. Now, God didn't get mad at Moshe. This idea that God, had a tizzy fit and said, oh, no, you're not going into the promised land. That's not what he said, actually. In fact, what God did for Moshe is the thing that Moshe wanted most of all. He whacked a crag and he was relieved from duty. That's what he wanted. That's all he wanted. And God didn't just relieve him from duty. He gave him a flying carpet tour
around Israel
of the promised land. He saw every bit of it from an aerial view. He literally took Moshe and said, we're going to go fly. I'm going to show you all of it. But I'm just not going to have you're not going to have to endure these malcontents anymore. We've now washed away the embitterness of Meribah. We've come up with a plan to do it. You just need to talk to the Crag. He's the chatty one with the big mouth.
The big head.
And the big head that is named Craig.
Craig Winn.
Yeah, that's Craig. My name is Celtic for Craig. That is what my name means. So Craig is not a bad thing. And by the way, the 17th chapter of Isaiah that's setting all this up says that the mortal remnants are being protected by the Craig. It was also the Parah, the guy with the big mouth, the big head that's standing up and pointing to God. So with that in mind, knowing that the Crag is supposed to be the one who resolves this waters of Meribah, let's return back to the story of the adulterous woman, who, by the way, has nothing to do with a woman and nothing to do with adultery. In fact, it's not even called the adulterous woman, but that is how Numbers 5 is known. It's all about Israel continuing to be religious and God saying, I'm bringing back my son, and my son's king. And my son, for him to be a king, you have to have a kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that requires people.
Yeah.
And his people happen to be Jews, Yehudim, Yisrael. And they're all religious, which means they aren't worth a crap. So we got to figure out a way to clean them up. He wants them back. I want my son to have a kingdom. And so we've got to clean them up before we re-enter Gan Eden, or it's not going to be worth a darn. What's the purpose of going back into the garden if you're going to carry all this trash in with you? And so that's the purpose of this story. And Numbers 5 is that Dowd wants his people back. He wants his bride back, Israel. But they're filthy. And so God says, okay, I've got a plan to resolve that. Just don't hit the damn Crag. So he will have, by the way, it's going to be quite obvious here that the waters that were released from that Crag are the same waters that are going to be released from the Temple Mount of Jerusalem during the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. And they're going to have exactly the same effect. Stories fit together pretty nicely, don't they?
Great.
Over and over and over again. Yeah.
He's really good. God's a great storyteller. You just have to take the time to open your mind and say, what is he talking about? Who are the characters? What are the symbols he's using? And what is going to happen when? And when you know it, the pieces all just fall together. So then, by the way, that handsome fellow over there, that in the yellow shirt, that is Joe. For those who have heard Joe's voice, because he did so many of our YAHOWAH radio programs through the years. My wife,
or Yoel.
Under Yoel, my wife left the hot seat there, and she's always thrilled to leave the hot seat there and allow Joe to be part of this program, but. This is my good friend, Joe. We've only been friends for about
96, 95.
95.
End of 95. Yeah, it's literally 30 years.
30 years.
Like almost today.
Yeah.
It's just before Christmas that I flew out to California, or just after Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
Spring break.
Neither of us were celebrating it, but yeah, this is true. Going back 30 years ago.
I went out to California to
that was
do Value America.
And since I've only been doing this now for 24 years, that was 6 years before that I began this process. It was amazing that our first 3 years together was pretty darn amazing. The 3 years after that was also, well, if you want to know the story, it's on the website. You took the book in the company. It's positioned at YAHOWAH.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to know this, Joe and my story together. Joe is, other than myself, I would say, is probably the second the key player in that story. We tell the story through Ken Power's eyes because we wanted to write the story like Moby Dick, as with the first person narrator. And so Ken becomes the foil that we revealed the story. I actually wrote the book. Ken taught me how to write, and we used Ken as the narrator. But the most important player other than myself in that story is Joe. And Joe right now is just finishing the publication of our books. We made a couple of minor tweaks on them today, and the last of them will be out at Amazon probably tomorrow. And then, so all 35 of them are available, for you to be able to buy. And matter of fact, we got another 3 of them. Oh, they're down on the floor here. Another 3 of them arrived today. So, but they've been available for some time. I just live out here on an island, and the canoe can only paddle so quickly to get Amazon shipments here. So it takes me a little longer. You could probably order them and get them in 2 days, and I order them and get them in 2 months. But nonetheless, they're all available. So this is Joe. We're going to start working on the website and improving it starting tomorrow. So it's always good to be able to work with a friend. And Joe was, as a Jew, I think with probably you and Dr. Jeff were the both Jews, both early witnesses to what we were learning. And you can both testify to the fact that it didn't begin with a floodgate. It began slowly, one revelation at a time, one insight at a time. And it's been 24 years of constant learning and constant insights, with the last 6 months and year providing more insights and understanding than probably the 20 some odd years prior to it.
Yeah, I think it all kicked off. I think we were having a long talk in your car right outside your carriage house.
Yes.
And we were doing Prophet of Doom.
Yes.
And I was the devout atheist, just hated religion, saying, I'm all over this. But then we started to get into some of the Christian talk. And I said, no, don't like any of it. Don't like any of it. And you were saying, are you nuts? And you were, telling me about all these other things I should consider. And I said, you're right. I can't counter anything you're saying. But the one thing I can't stand is the idea of love me or I'll torture you forever. Yep. And I said, unless you can fix that. And then like a week or 2 later, you said, you know what?
I fixed it.
It's not just those 2. And then all of a sudden that turned on a switch for you in a big way. And for me, like, okay, I'll open my ears a little bit.
Yeah. To be exact, I had recognized long before that time that I was writing Prophet of Doom, that Paul was a complete fraud. So I knew Paul was a fraud. What I did not know, and I realized there was no Jesus, but I figured maybe the name was just wrong, and it was Yosha or something of that nature, and that the life was more consistent with the Torah teaching. And so you're trying to feel your way through this process. You grow up in a culture that is so indoctrinated with Christianity. It is difficult you don't start by saying, well, it's all a lie. You start by, I know this part's untrue, and I know this part's untrue, and maybe I can make this part somehow consistent. And it takes a while before you're able to say, oh, wow, the whole thing was untrue. And now here is the truth, and it's really marvelous. But so that's where we were. And what I found out is actually our good friend, Ken, who is now passed away. But Ken wanted to write a book because I had moved from in the company to Tea with Terrorists, and then I was writing Prophet of Doom. And as I was making that transition, and now that Prophet of Doom is now the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, and Questioning Paul is the 5 volumes of Twistianity. They've also grown in information. But as I was doing that, Ken wanted to write a book he wanted to cover every prophecy in the
Maimonides.
Every single, he wanted to cover every single prophecy. And so for some reason, he began with the book of Hosea. And he gave me his first 4 or 5 chapters to edit. And I was a neophyte translator at that point. I was just beginning the process, and I started looking up the words. And I said, Ken, these translations are really terrible. It doesn't say this at all. And he was trying to justify Paul's letters through what Hosea was writing. And I said, it doesn't work that way. They're completely inconsistent. But as I said, what I'll do though, is I'll rewrite it based upon the kind of a fledgling process of translating at the time.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I'll rewrite it.
It was hilarious.
And I said, I'm going to retitle it because what you're talking about really is future history. So let's retitle it Future History. Mm-hmm. And then I'll create a amplified translation. And that's how I came up with the style that we still use to this day on an amplified translation. And I began to do it, and I ended up rewriting the whole thing, gave it to Ken, and Ken says, you can't argue with any of this, but I still like leading the choir at my church, and I just don't know if I can give that up.
Sell a lot of books.
Yeah, not going to sell a lot of books with this with this attitude either. And it's like Jerry Falwell, what you said is right, but there's no money in what you're saying, so. We're not going to go for it. So anyway, one of the things that I learned in Hosea is that Hosea is very clear. Now, I found it reaffirmed in probably 500 places since that time. But Hosea was really clear that there are 3 outcomes for human souls. And that the vast majority of people, when they die, don't go to heaven or hell. There is no reward or no punishment for them. They were given life. And they're given free will and given every opportunity to do what they wanted to with their lives. And if they did not know Yahweh, he does not know them. They didn't do something horrendous to his people or engage in something that was horribly misleading and counterproductive, then at the end of their life, their soul simply dissipates to nothingness. No reward, no punishment, no nothing. Totally fair. God's not saying, love me or I'm going to torture you forever. No, he's just saying, if we don't know each other, then there's really nothing I can do for you beyond your life. And so at the end of your life, your soul simply dissipates into nothingness. People have a wonderful or a terrible memory of you, depending on what you did, but that's just it. And then if you have been active and leading people astray, you've been super religious, super political, and you've led people astray, you harm people, there has to be a consequence for that. Otherwise, I'm not being fair. And so those people do go to a place of separation, but there's no fires and no torture there. It's just an eternal place of separation. And for those who accept what he is offering through his covenant, relationship, family relationship, if you accept what he's offering and act upon it and realize what he is expecting from us in return, which are just 5 things, and avail yourselves of what Dowd did in fulfilling the spring mikveh, then you can live forever with him. Yeah, pretty good deal. But those are the 3 options for human souls. And I remember when I first found out that not only did it resolve the issue that Joe had, but I remember taking that to Jerry Falwell, who's my good friend at the time. Mm-hmm. And I said, Jerry, do you ever realize that not only is this true, but it has to be true? Because if God said, you're going to capitulate to me and obey me and love me, or I'm going to torture you forever, he's not lovable. He's not even worth knowing. He's sadistic. This is like Allah in the Quran. No, it can't be that way. And here's proof that it isn't. And he says, no, I've never heard of that before. And no, I'm not going there. Why? Because you can't sell a religion unless you can threaten people that if you don't pay me money and capitulate, I'm going to roast your tuition in hell. You scare them into it. And you tell them, no, don't worry about death. Don't worry about the fact that you're having a miserable life. Don't worry about the fact that everything we're telling you is a lie. Don't worry about it because you'll have another life and the other life will be really swell. Give up everything for this life. Well, to me, but give up everything to this life and your next life will be really swell. That's how you sell religion. You can't sell religion otherwise. So, he didn't have any interest in it, but in fact, that's all true. Mm-hmm. And so, I remember we went through that process and ever since we just, every day was a new insight. Sometimes they were a week apart, sometimes a month apart, sometimes now they're hours apart.
What you kind of jumped over is the very beginning of you working with Ken on Future History, which became, I guess, when he took it back over, I think I renamed it Future Truth. Anyway, was your first edits, like he gave you like a 7-page, half a chapter, and Craig's edits came back like 50, 60
Well, yeah,
pages.
it's today. It's
And then he did that like 3 or 4 times, and you had 240 pages of edits, and he just said, Craig, write your own damn book. I'm going to go and do my
Right.
in fact, you just published all the book. You recall one called Azab Separation? In fact, it's right down there on the floor, right there. Can you grab
it's
that for me?
separated from you on the floor.
Yeah, right there. Top book. You see this book right here?
Yep.
This is my edit of of Ken's work. This is the first book of Value America. It didn't of YAHOWAH. I'm thinking about our relationship with Joe here. This is the first book that became YAHOWAH. It's called Azab. From beginning to end, it is my translation and commentary on Hosea.
That's
So whatever it is, 700 pages.
Just a quick commentary.
Yeah. What did God say about that? Oh, yeah, he's got a big mouth, a big head, and it stands up and points to God. Well, there you go. 700 pages in my edit of my good friend Ken. I was committed all the way back then. I'm going to go where the words lead. This is what the words say. Let's go where the words lead. And if it says that there are 3 destinations for human souls, then there are 3. And I decided, there's enough prophecy here where God has foretold things that have been recorded in the Dead Sea Scrolls that have subsequently come true well after we have written affirmation that this is what he has said. To know, in fact, that these books were inspired by someone who isn't constrained by time. They're not predicting the future. They've seen the future and just simply reporting it back to us, which becomes obvious once you understand the nature of light again. On a photon of light, time is. So you can perceive the future before it occurs and go back in time and
Record it.
Record it. You have to be a little careful in that regard. It's
right.
One of the things that I've talked to Joe about a lot is that we'll be able to maneuver in time. That's only partially true.
Yeah, you can't go back before you as energy existed. Energy can't go back before it existed.
Well, that's part of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But the other part of the truth is that anything that happened on this planet prior to the time that we are released from our bodies and therefore can maneuver in time, we can't interact with anything that's previously happened. So if you were to see, dinosaurs off a velociraptor killing a brontosaurus, and you felt sorry for the baby brontosaurus, you can't intervene. You can't change the past. So God may allow us if it's productive to view what's happened in the past. So I think it would be interesting to see dinosaurs roaming the earth, but we can't change the past. Change the past. Terrible paradigm things happen. It's one of the more interesting things about light. Light has a constant speed, and nothing can go faster than the speed of light. And light actually is the governing factor of the universe. And if a physical particle moved faster than the speed of light, it would, of course, generate so much inertia, it would be larger than the entire universe. And it would take all of the energy in the entire universe just to accelerate a physical particle to the speed of light. But you can never go past the speed of light. And what scientists have determined, if you were to go past the speed of light, you would be able to go back in time. And if you go back in time, then you've screwed up the entire paradigm. You could actually get effect to precede cause, and you would unravel the universe. So there is absolutely no possibility whatsoever that we will ever go faster than the speed of light. But that's just fine, because one of the things that they are now confirming, which I've known for a long time, that if we were here and the edge of our galaxy, the Milky Way, is 40,000 light years away from us, and the far reaches of the universe for us are across the universe is 94 billion light years, so it would be 47 billion light years from where we are to the edge of the universe that as we know it. And if you were traveling at the speed of light, you would say, well, it would take 47 billion light years to get there. But light that left a star that is the edge of the universe, do you know how long that star has, that light has traveled from that light's perspective?
No time.
No time.
No time.
No time. It is from the time that it leaves to the time that it arrives at any one place, no time has transpired. So if you take time out of the equation of speed, speed means, speed is distance over time, right? If time is zero, you can get anywhere you want to in no time. So
when you said that the other night, I went out and I let the dogs out in the front, and I got a flashlight, and I'm going, okay, the light got from there to there, like so, and that light from the moon right above me, it took, years or
the light from the moon traveled from reflecting off the face of the moon to your eyes 1.3 seconds.
Yeah. But
1.3 seconds.
From that standpoint,
it's 8 minutes. It's 8 minutes from the sun, right? I think its light is 8 minutes from the sun.
I don't remember how many.
And from the moon, it's 1.3 seconds.
But it's amazing.
That's one of the issues of Mars, by the way. One of the reasons that it's just so difficult to fathom humans being there, because if you wanted to have a conversation of, oh, by the way, our spaceship landed upside down, what do we do now? From the time that you communicate something, it could be upwards of 20 minutes before it's received at Earth. And then they've got to process what you said, and they've got to give you an answer. And that answer takes 20 minutes to come back. The absolute minimal amount of time in a conversation is separated from, hi, Joe.
Right.
Now it's 40 minutes. If Joe is right there listening and he's Johnny on the spot, it's 40 minutes before, hi, Craig. What do you want to talk about? Another 40 minutes goes by. I mean, so
interesting.
That'd make for a tough podcast.
Yeah. So what is important to recognize is that we just sent out 50 years ago, we sent out Voyager.
Right.
Voyager is coming up close on one light day away from Earth. One light day, not one light year, one light day. Took 50 years. So I did the math. And another 70,000 years, if it was pointed in the right direction, which it's not, it's going the opposite direction. But if it was pointed in the right direction, another 70,000 years, Voyager would arrive at the closest star. 70,000 more years, if it was pointed in the right direction, it would finally arrive at the nearest star. And there's nothing around that nearest star. Oh, they're claiming now that there's a planet, but it's a red dwarf, and red dwarfs are so unpredictable, so crazy in their performance. There's no chance there's life there, but nonetheless, that's how long. So you realize that we live on this perfect globe that is perfectly tuned for life, and there are 1,000 criterion that are necessary on our specific planet to make life possible. And we can't get anywhere off this planet. I mean, we've been to the moon and I think we had one group that was there for 3 or 4 days, but it's deadly there. And no one's going to stay there on the moon. And the moon is still in proximity to us. Going to Mars, we may, as a vanity project, send somebody there to die, but no one's going to live there and come back. It's impossible. And so here we are on a perfectly tuned planet for life, and we have this universe of 2 trillion stars, each with hundreds of billions of 2 trillion galaxies, each with 300 to 400 billion stars apiece, each with countless planets and moons, and we can't get to any of them unless we shed our bodies. And so what's the story? And Yeshua 57, they shed their bodies, they disappear. That's what this harvest is all about. And it's those who are right and those who are devoted and loyal. So I think we had actually started to read Numbers 5. So then he will have passed over him. This is speaking of Dowd. He's the groom that wants his bride back. Sukkah is also a chuppah, which is a wedding pavilion, right? So Dowd comes back as king. There's going to be a wedding. He's going to have the most beautiful woman in the world representing Yisrael, and there's going to be a wedding ceremony. Then he will have passed over him a zealous spirit seeking exclusivity in the relationship. Dowd's already gone through one coup. He does not want to endure another. So got to get the bride cleaned up, seeking exclusivity in the relationship. And by the way, we're not talking about monogamy here. Dowd had how many wives?
10?
8.
How many concubines? 10?
10.
So 18. Now, from my count, that may be 17 too many, but nonetheless, dude had 18. God didn't have any problem with him having 18. So it's not about monogamy. And 18 is definitely not monogamy.
Yeah, but it's not that he did everything right or whatever. Doesn't mean just because he did it, there's a lot of shit he did that not such a good idea.
But if he did something that God didn't like,
yeah, I'm not saying it was a big
God
deal.
immediately said, we're going to have a little talk about this. And Dowd says, okay, what I did was wrong. And now I got it right. Having 8 wives and 10 concubines was never, ever brought up by God as being an inappropriate thing. The only thing that God ever said to Dowd about his 8 wives and 10 concubines was that the way that he acquired the last one was wrong. He had his general go off and fight a war that risked his life, and he died in that war. And Dowd married his widow. That was Bathsheba. And Yahweh said, nah, that wasn't cool.
But he tried to get him. He explicitly wanted him to die. Came back the first time and wasn't that?
Well, no, he sent him off to the battle, and it wasn't a guarantee he was going to die. But yeah, it clearly that's it. The strong inference is yes, that's what Dowd anticipated, and God said that's not cool, man. That's just not cool. So they actually had a little timeout. But it wasn't over the number, it was just over the process on this one. So when this is saying that Dowd has a zealous spirit of seeking exclusivity in the relationship, not talking about monogamy. He's talking about, I don't want another damn coup. I don't want a rebellion. God says, I don't want you to be religious. So it says that he will become passionately zealous, desiring the undivided attention of his female companion. But she has defiled and sullied herself. Now, this means that she's still religious. And this individual should come with this female of his to the priest, who is now Eliah in our story. And he should bring a contribution to approach regarding her. And it says it's a 10th measure of barley flour. Why? Well, Dowd fulfilled Pesach, matzah, and Bakurim. Bakurim is a barley harvest. And so Bakurim is when you become family. And so you're going to have the barley harvest. He says, without pouring the oil on it, because at this point, he doesn't want the bride to become immortal with the spirit and to be infused with the benefit of the oil, because this bride is going mortal into the restored Garden of Eden. And no frankincense. Frankincense covered over the odor, bad odor. It was designed in ancient days to be used because they didn't have good hygiene. They didn't have, the kind of things that we have now to mask odors. And God says, no, I don't want to mask the odor. Israel stinks to high heaven. We're going to fumigate the place, but not with frankincense, because I'm going to build a fire under the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah, and that smoke is going to be the smoke that resolves this. We're not covering it over. I want the people to smell what's going on here. I want them to have full appreciation of it. And he says, because a gift of desire and passion. So this the smoke of that is a gift, because I am offering my body for this particular purpose. Now, it's not a big deal in the sense that my body's not worth anything at that point anyway. I'm happy to get rid of it. But nonetheless, it's not going to look that way because it's going to be bludgeoned. It's a gift of desire and passion for him. It's a gift of remembrance. It's a zikaron. It's a gift from a zikaron. You guys know what zikaron means?
Memorable man.
Memorable man. Yeah, zakar means man.
Remember.
And as a verb, it means to remember. And on means all things pertaining to. And so this gift of desire and passion that is resolving this is coming from a zikaron, a memorable man. That'd be a guy that God's talked a lot about from the beginning of the story, maybe starting in Bereshit Genesis 1 and bringing him up again in 2 and bringing him up again in 3 and, well, through the story. Zikaron. My wife wrote a song called Zikaron. To be mindful of, zakar, just in case you didn't know what zikaron means, he reminds you with the verb. So it's a title, then it's a verb. A gift of the memorable man, to be mindful of what? What is the zikaron, the Adam of Parah resolving on behalf of this adulterous woman on Teruah?
Oh, her guilt.
Her guilt. And so to be mindful of her guilt, the liability of religious corruption.
Religious corruption, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like Zakar so much. He named one of his prophets after Zakar. Zachariah.
Yes, he did. Yeah, Zachariah. And he should approach. So then it says that he should approach with her, pursuant to the role of the priest. It'll be Elia at the time, to present her standing, not bowed down, standing. The two of them standing side by side, to approach the presence of Yahweh. Why? Because Yahweh's coming back on Kippurim, and she's got to get unreligious. The guilt's got to be resolved by the sacrifice of the memorable man prior to Yahweh's return with Dowd on Kippurim. That's only 10 days away. So she's standing there present, ready to be purged of her guilt. So before the approach of Yahweh. Then the one acting as priest, again, that's Elia, should obtain the set-apart water in a clay earthenware vessel. Now, the set-apart water in a clay earthenware vessel takes the bright reader back to the story of Elia when he made a name for himself. Elia was taken by Yahweh for this very moment. It will be exactly 40 Yobel, 888 years separating these two events, 2,888 years. And at the time, Elia had 3 times told everyone that was there to take water in earthen vessels and to drench everything that's beneath the sacrifice of the bull. So we're right back to the water and clay earthenware vessels. Now, this next time, it's not going to... Yeah, it's not going to be in earthenware vessels. It's going to come up from the earth as a torrent of water. So to obtain set-apart water in a clay earthenware vessel, and the priest will obtain from the pulverized ash and dust, which for the benefit of the relationship has come to exist within the flooring of the tabernacle. Now, where's the tabernacle going to be on Teruah?
Moriah, Temple Mount.
Right there on the Temple Mount.
Moriah.
So are we going to have a flooring of the tabernacle to get some ash from? Because where is the Adam of Parah going to be roasted? Where is the burnt offering going to be made?
At the altar on the
The
Temple
altar,
Mount. Altar on the
right
Temple
there in front of the tabernacle for the whole world to see.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. So where do you want to get the ash?
Right there.
There.
Right there.
So pretty much tying the these stories together. And by the way, we came to this story because Yahweh ended the story of Eden, telling us and Chawah and Adam and Hasatan that in the end, you're going to have a choice. You can either return to the dust of the earth from which you came, ashes to ashes kind of thing, dust to dust. Or you can return by way of the ash. He's now explaining how you return by the way of the ash in case you just don't want to dissipate back into the earth. All right, so the pulverized ash and dust, which for the benefit of the relationship came to exist within the flooring of the tabernacle, and he will place it as a gift in the water. In other words, this is a free will offering that is being made by the Adam of Parah, and it's going to be immersed in enormous amounts of water when Yahweh releases this torrent of water from beneath the rock that is the Temple Mount. Don't strike the crag, though. Talk to it. It'll produce water. My guess is that Yahweh is going to say, okay, Craig, come forth with the water. He's probably not going to add one more blow. The one acting as the priest will present the woman standing before the appearance of Yahweh. Then he will release the woman's head along with her toxicity, her gall, her venom, and her bitterness. Place a gift on the palms of her hands as a sacrificial offering of the Zikaron. Place a gift right in her hands of the Zikaron, of this memorable man, apportioned as the sacrificial offering. He's talking about the sacrificial offering of the bull who's now roasted as Yahweh lit the flames with Eliah 2,888 years before, surrounded by all this water. God's going to ignite the flames beneath the carcass of the Adam of Parah, going to mix the ash with water. Flames will be leaping up to the heavens, the smoke billowing. Place it in her hands, for this is a gift from the memorable man, the Zakaron, for exclusivity in the relationship. And in the hand of the one acting in the role of priest, they will choose to have the waters of vexing and provoking bitterness, ha-bar, of the curse of harmful consequences expunged. This is where it gets washed away. So don't hit the damn crag. The crab's going to release waters. And now the waters of that crag at Meribah that were so embittering for the Jewish people who still stain their souls, it all gets expunged right here at this moment when the curse of the harmful consequences are gone. The mar of embitterment of Meribah, when Yahweh releases the waters and it's mixed with the ash and collected from the Temple Mount under the tabernacle. How's that for coming full circle in this story? Just want to just bring it together because this is our job, is to,
Whole picture.
you can know the story, which not a lot of people know, and you can understand the story. And once you understand the story, that's when it makes a difference. That's when it can transform your life. The one acting in the role of priest will have her swear an oath and make a solemn promise to earnestly affirm the truth regarding herself at this moment in time. And he will say to the woman, if a person has not lounged with you, and if you have not hung around with them and gone astray, turning away to that which is filthy and defiled, under this person, you are released. You're pardoned. You're innocent. You're free. It's purged. It's gone from the waters. You are released from the waters of the vexing and provoking bitterness, the waters of Meribah.
Where's in Meribah?
From the curse of harmful consequences. Numbers 5:19. I don't know how you get any better than that. God's bringing the whole story back together. This is the resolution. The book that no one ever wants to talk about, Numbers, right? Whoever talks about numbers. And here's the whole story in Numbers. All laid out for us. Now, the story of the waters of Meribah is in Numbers 20. The story of the Adam of Perah providing this sacrifice is in Numbers 19. This is in Numbers 5. Now, the story of Moshe giving up on the people because they were so belligerent is in Numbers 11. The story of Miriam being the very essence of Meribah is told in Numbers 12, where she was the one who came up to Moshe, impugned his wife, and then said, "We too speak for God." And he says, no, you don't. Yeah, when we had the mother goddesses that went astray and off their own way, and they say, "Yeah, we too speak for God." And God said, I'm here one evening. I said, "Okay, how do you want to handle this? Do whatever you want. How do you mean to handle this?" And he said, "You should know that already." He says, "You've told the story of Numbers 5. You've told the story of Numbers 19. You know the story of the adulterous woman. You know the story of the waters of Meribah. What comes between them, young man?"
12. Yeah.
That would be Numbers 12. So go read it. And he says, "Then respond accordingly." That's when God said, "Yeah, if you speak for me, you know it, and so does everybody else, because I've made it really clear." Or they should know it, because I've made it really clear. And I choose people because they're responsive. Not a lot of people respond to me. I chose you because you're responsive. So now, go report that. And then go report what happens to somebody that says, "We too speak for God," because God says, "I spit in her face. I struck her with leprosy. I estranged her from the covenant family. And I divorced her." And oh, by the way, this whole episode of the waters of Meribah, that is the result of this. And I've got a plan that's going to resolve it. And you are the one who gets to resolve it. Just don't hit the damn crack. Talk to it.
Yeah, Wookie.
Wookie says, "Wow." Wookie says, that's a great story, man. I love that story. What a great story.
He's wagging the crag.
He is wagging the crag, man.
Now you're thinking of me.
mosquitoes, though.
Oh,
Marion would have been better off if she was a death leprosy.
Yeah.
but
No
man, isn't this just it's one of the most profound things. I remember I was just a few hours ago. Joe and I were in my study, and we were just finished our final tweaks to the books, and I'm thrilled that how beautifully these have turned out. And we were talking about it, and I said, let's talk about what happened in the waters of Meribah. And we were having a conversation about. And he said, "Yeah, Moshe hit the rock, and God precluded him from going into the promised land." I said, "It's close." He struck the crag when Yahweh said, "I want you to talk to it, because if you talk to the crag," he's really talkative, "he'll respond by releasing water, and that's what's going to purge this problem." And so you don't hit it, you talk to it, and the water will come out. It will purge the waters of Meribah issue. And as for you, Moshe, you're relieved of duty, and I'm going to go and give you the best ride of your life. I'm going to show you the promised land and every aspect of it. We're going to fly over it. We'll hang above it and see it as long as you want. And then he brought him to Shamayim. His job is done. He's retired. I got a couple of guys. They're going to take it from here. You don't worry about it. I got him.
And he didn't fly on a wing. And he didn't fly on a winged Barak.
No. It's the story is just so comforting. It's just Yahweh. He's got a sense of humor. It's who would have thought striking the crag would be such a big deal? But then here's Moshe or Yeshayah, and he's talking about that remnant of Yisrael that survives to Teruah. They're protected by a crag. And it's this rock that releases this water. He says that's the top of the Temple Mount, all purged of all of the Islamic rubbish. The Dome of the Rock disappears. The Alaska moss disappears. The restoring the tabernacle of the restoring witness reappears. The Ark of the Covenant reappears. The two witnesses, including Dowd, who is the expert. Dowd is the only person who's actually done all this. He's going to be master of ceremonies of an event that he has orchestrated, having done so 2,888 years prior to this moment. He's doing exactly the same thing, also serving as the master of ceremonies. And why did God choose him, beside the fact that he exposed and condemned the religious establishment of Israel? That's what he was doing there, repudiating the prophets of Baal, the Lord, and the prophets of Asherah, the mother goddess. So he's there repudiating them and mocking them while roasting a bull with God igniting the fires and him providing the waters. What was the reason that Yahweh said, okay, as soon as he finished that, Yahweh took him. And he were told in the last chapter of the last prophet that Yahweh was bringing him back for this purpose. Why did God pick him, besides the fact that he was practiced? He was the only person that's actually rehearsed all of this. Because we're going to get it right. We're not going to get a mulligan here. We don't get a second whack at this. We'd have to get it right the first time. And the only guy that's actually rehearsed it before is Elia. But what was the other reason?
He's just fun. He's snarky and everything.
And what it tells you is, guess who else is snarky?
Yeah.
I happen to know he's snarky because every time that I want to have a little discussion and say, can we try it this way? I get snark. God's sarcastic, you know. Sarcasm is intelligent humor, and he's really smart. And he likes humor.
Eliah's blood has to be shed as well, the goat.
Yes. Yeah.
And as we all know, and we've discussed before, is Eliah is Yah's favorite prick.
He is Yahweh's favorite prick. Yeah, when explaining the waters, of course, that come out of Eden, he says, you know, the Eden is well watered, and there's four leaders, four Rosh, that come out, and the four Rosh are Moshe, and then Dowd, and then the prick, Elia. And when we say prick, we just like in the last four is the Parah, which is the Adam of Parah. That was the last of the four leaders that come out. That's the Adam of Parah, the bull. And so when he was describing Elia, he referred to him as the prick, but not as, you know, we have pejorative now. We have our own little definition of prick, and we all giggle and everything. But what Yahweh was referring to is, you're the one that provides the jab. You're the one who has the that thorn that can goad into the religious and political that are such a problem. We're trying to get their attention and get rid of them, and you're the perfect person to goad them. And so he referred to our buddy Elia as the prick, as the thorn. It was going to pop their balloon, if you will. So. Yeah, God's got a sense of humor. And he named Elia a goat. I get named a bull. You know, Dowd's a ram, and to some degree he is also the lion of YAHOWAH, a very noble creature. But
and he's
this is the story, and I don't know how we can top what we've just considered here in Bamidbar Numbers 5, and it doesn't matter where you turn. The story is repeated and reaffirmed. It's always the same characters. God's got a cast of characters. He found a group of people that were reliant on him, who would listen to him, who had a gift of gab, and would be comfortable talking to his people, and that they would see it through, that they wouldn't quit. They would show the resolve to see it through, and which is one of the reasons I became so enamored with what we learned in our most recent study of Eden, is that Yahweh didn't bring upon the fall of man, and it wasn't Adam either. It was Yahweh, and he acknowledges that he caused the fall of man, and it becomes abundantly clear as to why, because he tells us what he expected from Adam, what he expected from Chawah, and then what his consequence was to Adam and Chawah was that you now get to do the very things that I had asked you to do. And it brings us all back to this: can we demonstrate to Yahweh that we're worth his attention and that we can earn his trust? Because that's what Adam couldn't do. Adam was supposed to be observant. He was supposed to listen. He was supposed to engage and make a contribution. And he was supposed to be reliable, respond based upon what he observed and heard. And he flunked all of those. And Yahweh even says that he was lethargic and there was no resolving him, because in that sheltered garden, there was no way for Adam to grow up. He was too coddled. Food was just handed to him. There was nothing to overcome, no challenges to use to grow, no failure. And so Adam was just uninteresting, unreliable, unengaged, made no contribution. And so God said, this is not going to work. And it's never going to work if we're staying in this damn garden. And so God backed away. It's the whole reason he gave Adam Chawah is it's not good for you to be alone. And pal, I'm leaving you. And so then when, they came time to say, well, this is the consequence of what you've done, because you've prematurely taken the fruit of the tree of knowledge before it's ready to be handed out. The tree of knowledge brings you back to the tree of lives. The tree of lives hadn't done its thing yet. That's Dowd fulfilling Passover. The tree of knowledge is not only what gives you access to the tree of lives once the tree of lives has fulfilled Passover, but it also provides a barrier. It keeps those who don't belong away. It says, these are the rules of the road. You want to take advantage of the tree of lives? You follow these instructions. And so they preempted the tree of knowledge, and we're not ready for it. Hadn't done the work. You can't munch down in a few hours' time enough knowledge to be able to be given access to a tree of lives.
Etz had to become Etzah.
I've been doing it for 24 years, 10, 12 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week. And I'm just now really putting all the pieces together. It takes a lot of time and a lot of devotion and a lot of thinking, a lot of learning to develop worthwhile fruit from the tree of knowledge that will lead us back the appropriate way to the tree of life, so that God can allow us to have it again. And so the whole purpose of restoring Eden, and Eden is restored during Teruah. While all of this is going on with the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah, the flames are lit, the ash is collected, the water is released, and all of the people who can benefit from it, the Goyim who are not overtly religious and overtly political, are brought into Jerusalem to benefit from it. All the Jews around the world who are not overtly religious and political are brought in to benefit from it. And at the same time, everybody else is incinerated, just expunged from the earth. And then God terraforms the earth back into the conditions of Eden. And it's going to be a big chore, because man will have almost destroyed the planet. There'll be nuclear war and all sorts of horrible things are going to transpire. And God's going to restore the earth back to the condition of Eden. Then on Yom Kippurim, the groom returns, Dowd as king, and returns with Yahweh, and the great homecoming and family reunion, and the mortal remnant of Yisrael and these Goyim who have benefited as well are all there watching this great event transpire. And they're purged of their guilt so they can actually witness it. And then God's reopening Eden on Sukkah, which means protected garden. And the reason that we're going back and getting a fresh start, because everybody there will have known Yahweh and have enough knowledge that can be deduced at that point over 15 days. That's how young they're going to be. They're 15-year-old babies, but with a new opportunity, and they will enter Eden, and they're now going to have the chance with us working to teach them, guide them, lead them, set examples for them to actually listen to Yahweh, to actually be observant, to actually make a contribution. Don't be deadbeats. Work at it. Make a contribution. And then when they make a mistake or stumble, show that they're capable of getting up, learning from the mistake, growing as a result of it. Show Yahweh that you're interesting, you're worth listening to, that you can be trusted and relied upon, that you're steadfast and loyal. Those are the ones that are going to be harvested. So God's not making them an exception then. And we have 1,000 years to get them right, because what the promise is that, well, Eden was a protective enclosure conducive to life. So is the earth, particularly when the earth is restored to conditions of Eden. And so the earth now represents Eden. And we have 1,000 years on earth in this environment that's conducive to life to show our Maker that we can be trusted to be taken off this planet. That we're good enough listeners, we're observant enough that would be entertaining explorers, and that if we make a mistake, we're going to learn from it, so that God can trust us to take us out of 3 dimensions through 4, 5, 6, and 7 dimensions, explore this universe with him, and that he knows he can rely on us, he can trust us, he can have fun with us, he can enjoy our company. And that's the purpose of us going back to Eden for 1,000 years, is to demonstrate that. Now, it's not for everybody. The people who make this Shavuot and Teruah harvest will have already earned that right. And we will continue to earn that right, because we're going to be the teachers distributing the fruit over the next 1,000 years. So God's not taking us past where we are for us to be deadbeats. He's not looking for dependents. He's looking for people who are going to make a contribution, who want to work, who want to learn, who want to explore, who want to have fun together. And so we're going to have the opportunity to keep this job for a long time. We have job security. This is our job, and it's our job for a very long time. And that's what we're doing, because at the end of it, then those who are not part of the Teruah and Shavuot harvest are now going to be prepared so they can be trusted off of this sheltered and protected garden and allowed to explore the universe. And you're going to have to be really on your game to do that, because there's a lot of dangerous things out there. You could really mess stuff up. God doesn't want you to mess stuff up. He says, I'm going to write a set of instructions inside of you, but you're going to have to process them intelligently. And I don't think people have an appreciation for what happens when you go beyond 3D. We're 3 dimensions stuck in the ordinary flow of time. Every time you increase a dimension, the opportunities and the responsibilities and the choices increase infinitely. To go from 3 to 4 dimensions is not a 25% increase. It's an infinite increase. It's just like if you were on flatland like Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and you were given the opportunity now to be 3-dimensional. The increase in opportunity and scope and choices is infinitely larger. And we're going to go through 3 to 4, which is infinitely larger, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7. It's not even a rational number to talk about multiplying the square, the infinity to the 4th power, but that's essentially what's going to happen. And I've seen enough and read enough about what would happen if we as a species, as we are, were exposed to the fullness of time, 4th dimension. And what they say is that the noise, the light, the choices would be so overwhelming, we would just turn to goo. We do not have the processing capability to deal with it. And that's just going from 3.5 dimensions to 4. So God really does have to be careful with us. And the whole purpose of the human experience was to get some people with whom he could enjoy showing off what he's created. He created a universe of 2 trillion galaxies with hundreds of billions of stars, with planets, and he wants to show it off. He wants to share it. And ultimately, once we've explored this one, he said, I'm going to create a new one, and you can be there with me. So to be there, we're going to have to show that we're worthy of that. And, worthy, we don't have to be like God, except for the fact that we are like him in the sense of observant, good listeners, responsible, engaged, willing to work, being dependable, steadfast. And if you make a mistake, and God, by the way, has made mistakes, learn from those mistakes. I know it's uncomfortable for people to hear that God can make a mistake, but he can. We can all do it. And God's beloved son made his share of mistakes, but that is what made him so remarkable, is he made a mistake, he admitted it, he learned from it, he grew as a result of it. And when you fall and you get back up, you demonstrate that you are trustworthy and dependable. And if you never fall and get back up, then no one knows whether or not you're trustworthy. So, well, we have gone well past our 2 hours of family hour. If you have a closing comment that even Rich, you've been really quiet over there. The only one that's really talkative right now is Asher. I'll shut up and give you the floor. But the story I wanted to tell was the one we just got revealed about the waters of Meribah being resolved by the waters that are released under the ash of the Temple Mount, under the crag.
Yeah,
I just want to say that.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't want to cut
Go
you
ahead.
off, Joe.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say that it's really, this pivots around the Etz Da'eth, the tree of knowledge that leads to the tree of lives, that Yah ends up calling you, Yada, great. The lesser luminary is great, and he also calls him a son, and that you are going to end up being a prince to the king.
Reflecting his brilliance.
That's
what the moon does, reflects the sun's brilliance.
And that's how it's going to be. And that all the individuals who have ears to listen, eyes to see, and have any sense of intelligence and an Asama conscience should be appreciative and thankful. And that's just that's how I see this.
Jeff, it's kind of a mixed bag here, in the sense of, yes, God did call the lesser luminary great, along with the greater luminary, obviously, and he also referred to the tree of knowledge, the Etz Da'eth, as the choder. When he's describing the choder in Yeshaya 11, he specifically says that he's Etz Da'eth. But keep in mind, the sun is brilliant. It's this huge, big source of energy out there. And the moon, all it does is reflect the sun's light. And the choder is a stem, a sucker. And so, well, it's wonderful to be trusted by God enough to be written into his story, to the point that you're willing to make a sacrifice of this nature on behalf of his people, and he trusts you to do it, that you're going to see it through it. And, that feels neat, that the creator God of the universe wrote you into his story, and he trusts you to carry out what he has laid out for you, and you're going to do it. But, we're still recognize that Dod's the one. He's the son. He is the Elyon, all the influence of God in our presence. And we get to support him as king. And that is actually the best possible outcome for us, because, as I have shared many times, that there is something far better than owning a fast airplane and a luxurious yacht.
Being a guest on it.
Yeah, or having a fancy home, and that is having a friend that is responsible for those things. Yeah, that is and that's our situation with Dode. Dode has the fastest airplane, the biggest, nicest yacht, and he's king of the universe. He owns it all, and we get to hang out with him. He's got all the responsibility. We get all the opportunity. It couldn't be a better situation for us, but we need to know where we are in this order of things.
Yes.
Yahweh clearly associated with the soul of Dowd going way, 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 way back. And so Dowd is the one. He's the chosen one, and this is our role. And it's being the tree of lives was hard earned. He had to fulfill Pesach and Matzah to become the tree of lives, and he deserves our respect. And he's the guy in it. And wouldn't you know that the tree of knowledge is the first one to ever figure out that Dowd is the tree of lives, that he's the greater luminary, that he's the one who fulfilled Passover, opening the doorway to life. It makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's
and
the
the same
point I'm trying to
person that
make.
figured out why Moshe couldn't strike the dead gun crag, and where the water really is going to come from, and how it ties in. Yeah. What were you going to add there, Joe?
I was just like my thought exercises of time. We talked about that a lot today. Is time at some point will stop. Like the entropy in the universe, everything will be far enough apart that there will be no matter potentially, and therefore no time.
Right.
So at that point, like what happens to Sheol? Like eternity stops being eternity. You just are. Or does eternity stop at that point?
Well, that's why.
And then you create new universes and new galaxies.
Yeah, God's really smart. What did he say in the book of Yashayah? Yashayah is the textbook for where we are. You want to know where we are, how it's going to work out. That is a brilliant question, which not a question, it's a statement, is that the universe as it currently exists is ultimately going to die. Things get so far apart that the energy is lost, and the matter dissipates, and there's nothing. It's just dark. And so what Yahweh said is that I'm going to create a new one, and you're going to be there when I create a new one. So this one, and we don't know if he'll play it out all the way to that. I don't think he'll play this one out all the place of non-entropy, but he might.
Why not? Time doesn't matter.
Right. Time doesn't matter. Yeah, right.
At a billion years, it doesn't matter.
Right. Time doesn't matter. But what he wants is when time doesn't matter and you have the fullness of time, then you need a way to make it interesting. And the most interesting thing we can do is explore and learn and enjoy a relationship. And so that's what we're going to be celebrating all this time. And the most interesting experiment of all would be creating a universe and authoring life in it, wouldn't it? And so we're going to get to do that. But before we get to do that, God wants his king to have a kingdom. And that's more than just the current covenant family that's going to be harvested on Shabuah and Teruah. And so there's Goyim and Yehudim that are going to be brought back into Jerusalem to benefit from all of this, so they can go in clean into the Garden of Eden as it's restored, and we can help them earn this opportunity. And this is what God wants. Sounds like a good plan to me. I'm happy to do it. I'm enjoying it. You're in too? You're on board too?
I'm on board.
Yeah.
We're all on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's to die for.
It is to die for. It's the greatest life assurance policy in the universe. Leah wrote my funeral dirge the other day. I think I shared it on one of these programs. It's a beautiful song, but it's my funeral song, and I said, well, that's to die for, and I didn't even get it. But God, it is really sad though. Boy, you listen to your own funeral song and you go, ooh, this is very real. Yeah, it's I don't even want to contemplate. I've seen it. I mean, it's the only time that Yahweh said, "I'm now that you figured it out, the role you're going to play, the least I can do is show it to you." And so he actually revealed what it's going to all look like, how it plays out, and it's quite the sight. That's why I keep on calling it the greatest show on earth. What happens on Teruah is going to be genuinely magnificent. So what do you think there, Mr. King of the Cables?
You know, I tease you when I ask, how old are you? And the more we get into this, obviously 2 people in the garden wasn't a tree.
Yeah.
And your perception of how we're supposed to interact with time and not interact. Once again, I would have to ask you, how old are you?
Yeah. When Yahweh revealed the 4th day of creation and spoke of the greater and lesser luminaries and the role they would play as signs for the Moedim, which is, we are the 2 people that actually fulfill Moedim. Dowd fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, B'Koram. I fulfilled Shavuot, Teruah. We fulfill Kippurim together, although it's his day, and we work together through Sukkah. And so we are the two. We are the 2 that serve as the signs of the Moedim. For God to have known that, and to say that this process begins on the 4th day, which is your 4,000 Yah, which is 33 CE, when Dowd fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, B'Koram. For him to describe that during the creation account tells you that he knew us anywhere from the point that he's telling the story or the point that he's arranging for this to happen. So it's either, 10 billion years ago. Well, actually not. The 4th day would be more like 5 billion years ago. It's either 4 or 5 billion years old or 6,000 years old, because those 2 trees aren't trees in the garden. So he's known us for a very long time.
Like we talked, I think there's a handful of special souls that have probably been around a very long time.
Probably have. I think Moshe, when Yahweh reached out to Moshe, that wasn't their first meeting. It certainly wasn't Yahweh's first meeting with Moshe. And when he told Shamuel, no, it's not, none of those sons of Yishai, go down to Bethlehem. He's down in Bethlehem. He's 8 years old. You'll find him there. And when Yahweh spoke that way of Dowd and said, this is the one that I have chosen, and I've chosen it for reasons that you can't even fathom. And it meant that was not the first time that Yahweh and Dowd met, when he came up from Bethlehem. I can assure you of that.
Becomes the only logical explanation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's quite true, and I think it's an explanation too of why it's we did this and we did that during creation. God wasn't alone. He's chosen some people he thought he could rely upon, and none of those people were particularly special, ordinary, reasonably ordinary people. I think all 3 probably had a reasonably fast processor. I think all 3 had more than the ordinary depth of character. All 3 had to prove that they were reliable, dependable, steadfast, but all pretty talkative. That's for darn sure. But yeah, I think God chose those 3 right from the beginning, and that has known them for a very long time. And I think I would throw Elia into the mix.
You gotta get,
you listen to the conversations with Noach. I don't think he had to know Noach before Noach made the decision to separate from the Nephilim, and made Noach approachable, and Noach became the example of somebody that listened to Yahweh and did as Yahweh instructed, and that whole story of the 8 people talks about these 8,000 years to prepare us for leaving this planet safely with Yahweh. But I don't think he had to know Noach before. Adam and Chawah didn't work out. And so there was no reason to think those souls existed previously. And Abraham and Sarah, not the sharpest responses, in fact, really inappropriate responses all the way through the process of the narrative of the covenant. So, and if you look at Yishak, there's nothing there that was particularly special. Jacob was a disappointment. The first 12 sons were all disappointments. So I don't think there's any reason to include any of them. And then the prophets, God basically said, this is what I want you to say. And under that basis, you do have to be smart, because God wants you to filter it through your words and to work as a conduit of his voice. So it's a tough damn job, and you're very, very unpopular. Nobody likes to hear what God has to say. But I don't think that those, with maybe the exception of YAHOWAH is pretty extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Dowd clearly, God even talked about Dowd. He says, I've known you way back. I chose you to do this. I think that those souls, I can't prove it. We are given knowledge of what we've done before, because clearly it was Dowd and my Dowd. It was the greater and lesser luminaries. It was the tree of Chiam and Dayath. The Choder is given the 7 spirits of Yahowah. It's proclaimed 2,700 years ago. The whole presentation of what happens when the children of Israel had to have a fresh start to be considered for the promised land. And God says, well, this is how I'm going to make it happen. There's going to be a ram, a bull, and a goat. And this is what they're going to do. And ultimately, it's the bull's responsibility to prepare those who are guilty by omission, not commission, so we can return and restore this relationship and enter the promised land. He's told the story every which way that's possible. And so here we are. And then YAHOWAH is the ultimate blueprint of the whole thing. But who would have thought that numbers was the answer sheet?
Well, I think the issue is that you call it numbers. When you call it Bamidbar, when you call it questioning the word, then you're like, maybe I should dig a little deeper here, huh?
Yeah. Bamidbar is the actual term. It means Ba is with, and Dabar is word. And when you preference Dabar with the Ma, it means to ponder the implications of the word. So with pondering the implications of the word comes this kind of knowledge. And that's what the book is actually entitled. It's just like the book called Exodus is not called Exodus by God. That's a Greek word. It's called Shemot, names by God. Why? Because he introduces his name, and there's other names that are introduced too, all of which have meaning. And the first book isn't called Genesis; it's Bereshith, in the beginning. And it just goes on from there. The last book, which is the one that Moshe reveals, isn't called Deuteronomy, second law, because there is not one law, much less two. It's called Dabarim, words. And Kara, which called Leviticus, it's not called Leviticus by God. It's called Kara, and Kara means to invite and to welcome, to call out, to meet with,
to lick my toes.
Yeah. Well, all right. So,
Kara.
This is Kara. Kara is very wiggly. So busy is Kara. Look at that wiggly dog. And Kara's a boss lady. Wookie is doing his best to corral Kara and say, you're the girl, I'm the boy. You need to understand how packs work. But it's a lot. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck. He's doing his best, but it's a lot. And he's so sweet with her, Carl's, is insatiable in terms of eating, and Wookie will finally say, okay, you can have my food. Okay, can't have my chew stick, but you can have my food. And we'll play with her for hours on end, but
nowhere else.
Yeah, she is a boss lady. So thank you all for making this a wonderful family 2.5 hours.
Thank all of y'all.
Good night.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.